Welcome to Calm Your Crazy. I'm Kiana Lambert, and this episode is brought to you by Consciousness. Consciousness, the real you. We are going to start this episode with a song. I know this is a departure from our normal episodes, but we're going to do this as a reminder that you can sing and hum to regulate your nervous system. This song is In the Easter Parade, an old movie with actors that are no longer living, and you probably wouldn't know if I said them anyway. So here we go. I'm just a fella with an umbrella, looking for a girl who's saved her life for a rainy day. For every fella with an umbrella, there's a girl who saved her love for a rainy day. Raindrops have brought us together, that's what they were meant to do. Maybe a break in the weather will turn out to be a break for you. And that's all we got. What did you think of that opening? I just decided to go for it. Had an idea and just did it. That's what happens. You get an idea, you're creative, it feels scary at first, and then you just go for it. Made myself sound like a broadcaster or whatever, just mimicking, you know? Anyway, tonight we are going to be answering questions, because honestly, I have nothing. I was telling one of my community members, I am really tired of talking about myself. And so I've talked about simulation and all that stuff too, and that's like my favorite thing to talk about is consciousness and simulation. But tonight we're going to do that and answer questions. And these are all from YouTube. So I'm going to go through them. I get a bunch, but the ones that I find most interesting are going to be the ones that I answer. So I made a few videos on this already. So if you are following me, you're going to actually see a repeat of this because I'm answering this question. What if the Anunnaki are just part of the sim? And they are part of the sim. So they're part of the human sim, Earth sim. And it's hard to kind of put your brain around it, but basically humans evolved into different alien species, and then they came back and started replanting Earth with different seeds of their own. And it's like a fertile ground where you can create more expansion and evolution of consciousness. But even the other dimensions that humans evolved into that are coming back and seeding this and playing with us or, doing whatever, that's still part of the simulation. There are dimensions and levels that have no light. There's no photons. It's all energy. And that's how it functions. Right now, we are in a dimension where light is the data, light is the experience, light is the evolution of consciousness in this dimension. And I've talked about this before, but they discovered 47 dimensions in a photon. And the photon carries the information of everywhere it is because it's the same photon that we are seeing everywhere. It's the same one, it's just vibrating at a different rate. So the photon has 47 dimensions in it, and I know people are going to be like, well, you said 48. Exactly, because the photon that contains the 47 is the 48th one. A mic drop, if you didn't know it. Ba-boom. Everybody always forgets about the observer, or the initial container is also part of the equation. So the photon containing 47 dimensions is the 48th. There we go. All right, so cleared that up. Anyway, so this means that humans have evolved into other things 47 times, and this is the 48th round. And we experience time through a perception, personally. It does not exist. Everything is happening everywhere all at once. So we are simultaneously experiencing what we have here, and they are experiencing their dimension. And dimension is just a description of measurement. So you can have dimension be north, south, east, and west, being dimensions 1, 2, 3, and 4. You can have dimension be senses. Eyes, see, hear, nose, smells. Each sense is a dimension. You have a 2-dimensional flat plane, a 3-dimensional object. So it's a description. And in what I'm talking about, the dimensions are the separational boundary between frequency and the expression of that frequency through vibration. So everything is vibrating at a different rate. And it goes from low to high. And everything is a macrocosm of a microcosm, or a mirror of itself. So just like your energy expands, each expansion, like the frequency that you expand to, if it's love, enlightenment, or whatever it is, those can also be considered dimensions. And you expand it into a different dimension. And you really have. Because when your electromagnetic field expands into those different dimensions, your brain tunes into them. Because your brain is a receiver. It does not do anything else but receive. So it receives all the information from whatever dimension you are tuned into, and that frequency. And this is why so many people can astral project, or they can remember different lives, or they start to have different experiences because of this. Your brain can go anywhere because your consciousness is everything, and you are consciousness. Once you understand that and you connect to it, then you have access to all these dimensions and all the information. In the future, nobody has to actually remember anything, and you don't have to do it here either. You just have to believe and expect and command yourself to recall what you need to recall in the moment that you need to recall it. And that's what happens in the evolution of human consciousness in other dimensions. And that's how people function. If they need something, it just pops in their mind and they get it. There's telekinesis, there's all kinds of stuff. We are experiencing one level of humanity's evolvement. And in this level of humanity's evolution, the Anunnaki are part of the story. But there are other levels of the simulation, so that's just part of it. Anyway, the second question is, what causes the simulation to change and develop? Now I'm paraphrasing here because I don't know that the language, that it's not the language, it's just the sentence structure is off, so I'm paraphrasing. Anyway, what causes the simulation to change and develop? Experience. Just like you change from the time you were born and a child, you evolve into the adult or whoever you are based on what you've experienced. And as a collective consciousness, here playing the game and all of us doing our own thing, but agreeing together as one consciousness because we are one. We're just vibrating at a different rate. And as each individual point of our consciousness starts to evolve, it raises and changes the frequency of the entire dimension that we're in, and the entire frequency goes up. That's what causes the evolution to happen. So if, let's say you go back 200 years, you can see how things have progressed and changed. But there was a lot of slavery. There was a lot of harm being done to fellow humans because our consciousness level was low. And as we experience things, and as we start to build our empathy, and as we start to expand our consciousness, we understand that we don't want to hurt each other. We're at the point in history right now, in this level, where we don't want to hurt each other anymore. We are seeing firsthand the falling apart of what happens, like the consequences is what is happening right now of when you are separated. And the separation happened long before the separation of the world of things that are going on right now. The separation has been going on, and this is the ultimate consequence of it. Everything is falling apart. You're seeing all the corruption. You're seeing the unfairness. And it's blatant. They no longer care if anybody knows or not. It's part of the simulation. And it's meant to show people the pain, the suffering, so that we choose something different next time, because it's a pattern. And when we collectively choose something different, then we get out of the pattern. We choose a new path. So this, what is happening right now, is on purpose, so that we change and choose something different. This pattern we are seeing right now has happened over and over and over again, and will continue to happen over and over and over again until we choose something different. And that is the macrocosm. The microcosm that affects the macrocosm is you individually. What pattern are you recreating that is detrimental to your life over and over and over again? What pattern? Are you being kind? Or are you being filled with hate? Are you expressing your pain instead of going within? Instead of validating the pain? Instead of telling yourself, it's not my fault. This is a product of my environment. This is not my story anymore. That is choosing a new pattern. And when enough of us choose a new pattern, consciousness levels change in the collective consciousness of this level. And collectively, we all choose a new pattern. And that is exactly what is going on in this moment. We are all individually choosing new patterns and saying no more. And collectively, we are saying no more to the pattern of pain, lack of empathy, using animals for sacrifice, hurting each other, hurting the earth. We are at a tipping point, and there's going to be a split, okay? And there's going to be a million infinity splits if you think about it. But you get to choose this split and what you want to experience. And the split is going to be who moves on with a higher empathy, with the choice to feel emotion and to live authentically, or the ones that continue with hate because their evolution has not occurred and their consciousness needs to go back for another round. That's what's going to happen. So, I got a little passionate there because I'm very passionate about this awakening. Everybody is seeing the pattern, and we're collectively choosing to change our inner patterns, which reflects to the outer consciousness, and then we choose a different pattern. And what we're seeing is actively that. We're choosing a different pattern. We're awake. And that is the evolution of how it works. And I understand I took the long way to China, but it's a podcast. Like, who cares? Anyway, next question. What caused humans to forget about their origin? That's a really good one. I like that one. So, it's part of the simulation, right? Obviously, this is the story arc that we've been talking about this whole time. And like the microcosm of you forgetting who you are as consciousness, the macrocosm is you forgetting your origin as well, as humans. Forgetting that you were seeded here by what you evolved into in your other lives as whatever aliens or whatever you connect to. It's all creation. It's all possible because everything is the simulation, and it's all energy that has no limit whatsoever. And you don't have any limits whatsoever. I don't have any limits whatsoever. We have to forget our origin in order to have an experience. You have had more experiences than you remember because you are consciousness and you are everything and everyone everywhere all at once, experiencing things separately so that you can have an experience. But if you remembered that you were consciousness and that you were everything, or even if you remembered part of the simulation where you were from somewhere else and you had all the power in the world, what would you experience? When you are limitless, you have to create limits in order for you to have anything. Your energy is so powerful, it just flows all over the place. It's everywhere, it's everything. And you can harness it at every time. It flows through you. The beliefs, parameters, and conditions and expectations and perceptions of ourselves that are born from our experiences from birth until now are our limitations. That's how we experience life. Until you wake up, you understand that you're a consciousness, and then you choose a different pattern. Not the one that you have been unconsciously living, but the one that brings you back to yourself so that you can start actually affecting energy, playing with reality, and having the good time that you want to have. It's part of the next phase of conscious evolution. This is why I'm here. I knew quite early after my near-death experience that my consciousness was everything, everywhere, all at once, and that I specifically was put here to do this as part of the seed planning for the next phase of conscious evolution. Yeah, I know. The things that I know kind of scared me a little bit at first, but mostly it was because I didn't understand, and I had so much trauma in my body that the truth had nowhere to land, and I was fractured. And that's what happens when you have unhealed trauma. Your body stores memory, but it's not just your memories from this life. It stores everything. Everything that you've ever been, ever will be, or ever was. That's why you feel it in your body with your instincts. Because you already know. Your consciousness already knows. It's the coolest thing since sliced bread. So cool. You already know because it's all inside you. But when you start to access part of that yourself, when you break, when you have your kundalini or whatever you want to call it, your body has nowhere to put information, has nowhere to give you information. It's scattered, fractured energy that usually flows through you is hitting every single block that you have in your body with your fascia of old trauma and old things that are in there that you haven't let go, you haven't released, you haven't grieved. And all those released, grieved, all that just means feeling. You just haven't felt them yet. There's no mystery. I know people say these ambiguous terms. All of those ambiguous terms mean feel it. So the energy is bouncing all over the place, and that's when you have psychosis. And I know that it's an uncomfortable thing to talk about. In the old tribal days, when you displayed schizophrenia or psychosis, you went to a shaman and they guided you through your experience so that you could come out on the other side whole. That does not happen anymore, and it's compounding and made even worse. And if you look at a lot of the psychopathy of psychosis, you're going to see a correlation in age group. It's going to be your age population that is in the society where you didn't feel your feelings, you swallowed them, you said no, and that's going to be like anybody from early millennials until whoever's still alive from the generations prior to this. So all those people, and you're going to see they're prevalently going to be, people in that age group that are in their 60s and 70s. At this point, like, things are calcified in their body. Things have the fluid loss, the mobility, everything has gone downhill. And they're starting to be at the end of their life cycle, and they're starting to receive things and get things because there's so much pain in their body. That pain causes enlightenment. Trauma causes enlightenment. But then what happens is they don't know how to feel. They don't know what their emotions mean. And so they're emotionally stuck. And then all this fracturing happens within them and they're awakening, and they're getting all this information, and it's scattered and it's fractured, and they don't know what to do with it. And then they go through the phase where they need validation because they are experiencing so much on their own and they don't know what to do with it. And then they can't articulate what is happening to them or what they're seeing and believing and how it's happening to them. And I know this because I experienced it the same way. And the only reason that I got better was because I had time to sit with it, and my experience in the medical profession, especially with psychiatry. So they're not able to understand anything, they're not able to feel anything, and it causes this psychosis, and they can't explain anything, and then they get thrown into a psychiatric facility. Their family calls them crazy, they turn their backs on them, which is another fracture and another huge bash to their trauma already. It's compounding trauma, and their brain goes into, I've lost my tribe, I'm gonna die, and it just fractures even worse. And I've talked to so many people, oh my gosh. And the reason that I'm able to understand them is because my brain can follow them. I can piece together patterns, and I'm a polymath, and I can make connections for people. This is what I do in my community. I'm so good at it that it takes me like 5 minutes of listening to you to understand what your patterns are, mostly everything about you, and how to fix it. I'm really good. But I've talked to so many people, and I can follow their line of thinking. I can pattern it out. So they will tell me one thing and it pings over here, and they'll tell me another thing and it pings over here, and then they tell me another thing, it pings over here, and I can follow them. So I can understand what they're trying to communicate, and I can validate them. And you know what happens when I speak to them? And I haven't done it in a while. I did this years ago when I was doing all this research on myself and everything that happened after my near-death experience. But I sat with them. And I asked questions and I validated them. And as soon as that happened, their crazy became more coherent. I was witnessing them, validating their experience. You don't know how many homeless people I've sat with and conversated with, and people in the medical. I used to stay, I've talked about this before, but I used to take calls from crazy people. We weren't supposed to get them, but I would do it because they were accidentally transferred. And the police department would transfer calls, and then they would stay on the line. And if it was accidentally transferred to us because it was a psychiatric call, they would apologize and then take over the call, and then I would hang up. But late at night, when there was nothing to do, and these people were obviously so much in pain, that I couldn't just let them go. And then the dispatcher for the police side would apologize, and I would tell her it's okay, that she could leave the conversation if she wanted to. And of course they didn't, because they had protocols that they had to stay on the line because everything's recorded. But I would listen to these people. So I have years and years and years of listening to people because I came to do this. So that was a tangent from forgetting your origin. Let's move on to the next one. This one is about collective consciousness on the influence of things that are happening on Earth right now. I think I already answered that by talking about how things evolve and how when we change the pattern within ourselves, it's going to reflect, right, into the collective consciousness, and we're doing that and choosing different patterns. So, yes, lots of questions. Let me find another one. Okay, I made a funny video about this. It's hilarious, and no shade to little Ray. Ray. There's 3 Rays. I said it wrong before. I said 2 Rays, but it's actually Ray. And I love you. This is the best thing that I've read for a while, and I'm going to share it so that everybody can hear it, because it's the most amazing things that's happened to me this week, okay? And I love it, and it's hilarious because it is, and I'll explain. I've been astral projecting lately, and I'm meeting up with an ex who we were just not good for each other. The intimacy was amazing, but that's all we had. We wouldn't leave the bedroom. We were so addicted to each other. Now, she thought, well, I think that's supposed to say she taught. Now she taught me how to astral project, and I stopped doing it for about a year. And then the first time I do it, let me remind you, a whole year has gone by and I haven't talked to this ex or even thought about her much. Well, the first time I do it in a year, I meet up with her, and it was like we never stopped seeing each other, and it was very passionate. This is where it gets a little weird. She calls me in real life the next day and tells me everything we did, then tells me she's been coming to see me while I sleep and that she was waiting for me to astral project again for us to connect again. Please tell me I'm not going crazy and that you can help me. Thank you so much. I am new to your channel, but I really enjoy learning from you. Thanks again. Well. Little Ray. Little ray of sunshine. You are not crazy. Everything is possible in the quantum unified field. You are a version of consciousness having a human experience, and this is the experience that you chose to create. Now, my inquiring mind wants to know why you would create this, but that's totally separate. There's consciousness side, and that would be consciousness quantum side, like the reason why, and then there's the human side, what is actually happening to you in your reality, right? So in my video that I made, I said I didn't see a problem, and I still don't. Because this sounds absolutely fandiddly-tastic, okay? What I need from you, little Ray, is to start teaching people how to do this. Like, what you're describing here sounds really good. Like, sign me up for dose, okay? Because it sounds like you had a good time. And here's the thing. There's no wrong way. There's no rules. And if you are creating this experience for yourself, have a good time. There's no bigger reason for some things sometimes. People come here for all kinds of things. Your consciousness comes to experience all kinds of things, and it doesn't have to be deep on any level. Enjoy it. You do you. If you don't like it and you don't feel in control, which kind of sounds like you don't feel like you're in control here, then command yourself not to do it. Not to experience. And in the video that I made, I said astral coitus, because that's what you're doing. And you know what? I've never heard that phrase put together, or those two words put together before. But it was so good that I spent the afternoon playing with my girls, and everything was all about astral coitus. So, go have a good time. If you don't want to do it, say no. Go find some other things to create in the astral. I don't frequent the astral. I came here to have a human experience, and the astral for me is where I can live anytime. So I don't frequent the space. I stay here where I feel, where I came to embody, because I'm doing stuff for me. So you need to do you. And have fun. Get out there. Enjoy that astral coitus. You made it for you, and you deserve it. Okay? Love you, mean it. Let me find another one. Okay, next one. I heard a couple years back that was a line of souls waiting to reincarnation, but since the end is the end of the game, there's no more reincarnation, meaning this is our last chance to be here. I've been down this rabbit hole since 2019, and it does get confusing with different versions. I do try to use my own discernment and understanding, and still don't understand many things. I do appreciate, but okay, yeah. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. It's not that I'm not good with compliments, but in the interest of time. Anyway, so a couple things here. A line of souls waiting to reincarnate implies time. So there's no time in physics. You create it individually with your perception in your avatar every time. So what this tells me is this is something somebody was trying to explain from what they discovered or what they tapped into in their consciousness. And they've shared it just like I am, no different. And it actually doesn't work that way because there's no time in physics. And this is one of the key things about the whole simulation in this level, okay, is there's no time. So there cannot be souls waiting to reincarnate because everything is happening everywhere all at once. And so this is somebody else's observation, their experience, and their way to explain it, and you can accept it or you cannot. And what happens when you accept it is that you will experience waiting for reincarnation. That's what happens. Kind of cool, actually, because we're sharing all this information with each other and it gives us something to build on in our own evolution so that we can experience it the next round. So if you believe, what you believe is what you experience the next time. So if you believe that there's a line of souls waiting to reincarnate, you're going to be in that line of souls. And you'll create a whole experience around what you believe and expect what that looks like whenever you have your death experience in the simulation. So just like if you believe that there's, kind of a hospital for souls that have had a really hard life and they go to feel better or whatever, then that's also something that you can experience. Now, for me personally, my brain thinks differently. And I'm like, why would the most powerful being in the entire universe that creates everything and is everything need time to recover whenever they remember their consciousness? And if you go back to source when you die, like a lot of people say or they believe, why doth thou need a hospital for thine soul? It doesn't jive with me, right? It doesn't make sense, but that's just me. Other people, you can believe whatever you want, and actually you should, because that's what lends to different experiences with your consciousness. So this also goes with the next part, but since the end of the game, there's no more reincarnation. The game never ends. Honey bunny, there's no time, remember? So even when the game ends, that doesn't mean you end. The game doesn't end. It just advances into a different level, a different dimension, a different but same part of the simulation within a simulation. So that doesn't guarantee you that you're going to move on. It means that you might come back in a separate point of consciousness. And I kind of have a clue about what you're going to experience. Yeah. So everything is like a mirror, and it's also opposites. So what you're going to experience in your next reincarnation is not only what you believe will happen, but you're going to be on the opposite end of the experience of this life too. So everybody that you called a Karen, or that you were mean to, or that you blew up at, you're going to experience like consciousness in a level where that is mirrored back to them so they can understand what it feels like on the other side, because that builds your empathy for your next round. That's what actually helps your conscious evolve, is knowing what it feels like for the shoe to be on the other foot, to walk a mile in somebody else's shoes. So that's where your consciousness normally goes next. Yep. It's actually quite satisfying when I think about it. I know everybody's me and it's at a different point in consciousness. But when I see the ones that are quite naughty, I'm like, oh, I know what's happening next for you, darling, and I'm going to relish in it. Yes. So, hope that helps you feel better. But that's what's going to happen next for you, because that's the pattern anyway. So there's no last chance to be here. You might wake up in your next reincarnation and be an Egyptian or an Egyptian slave, or be somebody in Atlantis, or you could be Thoth himself. You never know. So that was that question, and we are at 34 minutes. I'm going to see if there's another question that we need to answer, but maybe not. Oh, I did find one more. Okay. All experiences are already happening, so why would we need to keep returning to experience anything at all? If everything is in the now moment, every experience has already been experienced. And as infinite beings, why would we need to experience what has already been? Because it hasn't already been. It's potential energy. It exists as potential energy, but it has not been experienced. And you still need to experience it. You're only going to experience it once. That's all you need. Unless you decide to come back and replay something if you want to. So that's why you return to have the experience. Because your energy, I can feel it right now from this question. There's a very, very strong pain, kind of darkness in you. And you're discovering things. And you're learning and growing right now. And you're questioning things, and that's wonderful. But you haven't experienced everything that you want to experience. Not in this life. And maybe not even in the next. I don't know who you are or where you've been or what you've been doing. But there are so many things that are exhilarating that you can experience as a human. There are things that you haven't seen. There are wonders that have yet to be discovered because they have not been created yet. There's so much more. And you are just at the tip of everything. So, I think that was a good note to end on. Oh, I love it. I honestly, I'm just, being with me, knowing all this stuff connected to consciousness, being able to feel this, answer people's questions it's amazing. Just not even the answering questions part, but being able to access the information, knowing the feelings, all of it just takes my breath away. And I know it sounds weird when I'm like, I can feel you. Yeah, well, I'm really good at what I do. So, I never used to believe in this stuff until I had my near-death experience, and that's all changed for me. But I'm in the middle, and I experience extremes and opposites. So I had a really challenging, hard start, and now I experience the other side of it, which is light and happiness and love and teaching that no matter what you've been through on the spectrum of hardness, that you create everything. You are everything. And there's no limit to what you can do. Your imagination, your belief, and expectation is all you need. All right, that was it for this week. Love you, mean it. See you next week.